Hello and welcome back to Digital Assets Daily. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in your corner of the world. Today they will release the Digital Dollar Project white paper exploring a US CBDC May 2020. We're going to scroll right down and get into this articles, as I have a few things I'd like to discuss from the Digital Dollar Foundation and Accenture. We have one of the headlines, the road to a U.S. digital dollar. And what is the Digital Dollar Project? The Digital Dollar Project is a partnership between the Digital Dollar Foundation, a not-for-profit organization, and Accenture to advance the exploration of a central bank digital currency, CBDC, or a digital dollar. The purpose of the project is to encourage research and public discussion on the potential advantages of a tokenized dollar, convene private sector thought leaders and actors, and propose possible models to support the public sector as it considers development, testing, and adoption of a CBDC. And we're going to scroll down and discuss all throughout this what I feel we should know about this as investors. Now we have the actual proof that it's coming out. So as an investor, you should be very excited, especially if you're a new investor, man. You just came in right in at the perfect time. You didn't have to wait through years of nothingness, as I say. The CBDC explanation is an introduction to CBDC. This Digital Dollar Project seeks to encourage the next major innovation of the U.S. currency, a tokenized digital dollar that has the same legal status as physical banknotes. This U.S. CBDC issued by the Federal Reserve System would enjoy the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, represent a third format of central bank money, and be fully fungible with Federal Reserve notes, banknotes or cash, and reserves. The fundamental benefit of this concept is there is no better riskless settlement medium than the U.S. central bank money. Across retail, wholesale, and international payments, a tokenized digital dollar would provide a new payments infrastructure that complements and sits alongside existing infrastructures, offering optionality, reduced risk, increased efficiency, and, if desired, broader access to central bank money. One thing I'd like to point out here is retail, wholesale, and international payments. And if you're new to this channel, we do discuss quite frequently how XRP is designed for wholesale, XLM is designed for retail, and they're both designed for cross-border payments. There's a section here I also want to discuss on interoperability. Interoperability in the context of this paper means that the digital dollar can function and coexist with current and future financial infrastructure systems, both domestically and abroad. The project will continue to engage with ongoing CBDC research studies and pilots around the world and encourage the collective effort to achieve the financial infrastructure of the future. Here we have a diagram of the two-tier distribution method of physical cash and tokenized digital dollars. They're showing the system with cash, and right beside it is the digital dollar. If you look out to the side, you have a Federal Reserve System, then you have the financial institutions and non-financial institutions and individuals. And breaking that down, you're going to have the Treasury and Federal Reserve, then you're going to fall into the wholesale transactions and drop into the retail transactions. Tokenization can provide a new level of portability, efficiency, programmability, and accessibility, ensuring the tokenized digital dollar's ability to complement existing formats of money while simultaneously modernizing our payment and financial infrastructure. And here we have the value case for a tokenized digital dollar. Again, we have an article headline here for retail payments, wholesale payments, and international payments. I'm going to keep scrolling down just a little further into access and inclusion. One area of promise with respect to a U.S. digital dollar is an expanding financial access and inclusion for unbanked populations. Next section here is the taxonomy. Payments are transfers of monetary value from payers to payees that come in many forms, usually in exchange for goods and services or to fulfill contractual obligations. For this paper, we will classify all payments made between financial institutions as wholesale and all payments made between non-financial entities, even in financial institutions, are intermediaries in those transactions as retail. This classification means that the specific payment channel or value does not determine whether a payment is retail or wholesale. Nonetheless, wholesale payments are typically high priority, large value transfers. Wholesale payments are usually settled via dedicated interbank settlement systems. In contrast, retail payments are usually lower value transactions between individuals, businesses, and governments in forms such as cash, checks, credit transfers, and debit and credit transactions. The next here, the payment processing system work in conjunction with each other, e.g. across both retail and wholesale payments, combining the benefits of individual systems. Next, we have privacy. Privacy is a deeply personal concept. Individuals have their own barometer of what they consider private, including when and with whom their personal information can be shared. Recognition of an individual's right and protect their privacy, particularly from the federal government, was a central tenet of the development of the U.S. constitutional form of government and is most prominent in the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. But even more so in this section of the article, what caught my attention is right here. Hypothetical transaction limitations. Thoughtful macro, micro, and behavioral economic analyses should be undertaken to find the equilibrium threshold that maximizes consumer activity and minimizes illicit activities. For physical cash, policymakers have determined that the threshold is at $10,000 USD. As development of a digital dollar progresses, policymakers will need to determine parameters such as time frame, participants, and/or amount that maintain individual liberty and minimize illicit behavior given the newfound ease of use of a digital dollar. And if you follow this channel for months, we have stated, because we follow what's going on in Australia, where they're trying to maximize and make it illegal to spend more than $10,000 USD equivalent in cash. The moment I read that article, I said, okay, there you have it, the testing grounds for what's going to be soon a global standard. And now you see it right here before your eyes. If you follow this channel, you've heard us state that for months. And one thing that we caught immediately with this is this little side note of hypothetical transaction limitations. Because what we stated was most likely by 2030, between now and then, they're going to phase it out to a maximum of 10K until there is no more cash. And that's the whole reasoning they're looking for the cashless society. The next article, or section of this article I want to discuss, was when discussing the US dollar, there are some unique factors to consider. Contrary to conventional wisdom, the dollar is not the money of the US, but the US money is expressed in dollars. The dollar is normally associated with physical dollar bills, but there are multiple monetary liabilities denominated in dollars. Money is mostly a liability of depository institutions, but currency is a liability of the Federal Reserve. On the use cases, we have a critical point to reiterate about the introduction of a tokenized US dollar is that it would sit alongside the existing forms of money and would enhance competition and choice in financial service infrastructures. Thus, we do not expect it to materially change all existing processes, but instead to derive benefits and unlock new opportunities in specific use cases. Below, we outline several initial use cases to which we believe a tokenized US dollar could add material value through engagement with stakeholders, the public sector, and our advisory group. We intend to refine these use cases further and identify potential pilots to test the value hypotheses and inform design decisions The below is a summary. Further details can be found in the appendix. And here we have the categories, the use case, the impacted stakeholders, the sizing, hypotheses, hypothesized US CBDC, benefits, and the hypothetical pilots. Feel free to come back. I will include again, as always, these in the description below, so you have the link to further research and read every aspect of details that it offers. It is pretty interesting to read through, especially I can see if you're new, you're going to want to learn a lot about that. And then here we have the conclusion. And in conclusion, throughout history, the United States has been a leader in innovation and building structures for future generations. A new technological age is unfolding, allowing for digitization of things of value to become tokenized, programmable, and decentralized. Across the globe, governments and private entities are experimenting with tokenized commodities, contracts, legal titles, and most critically, commercial and central bank digital currencies. This wave of digital token innovation is still gaining momentum. I want to discuss one last section of this article before we complete this video in the appendix. Domestic payments, the potential digital dollar distribution and domestic transaction model. Again, it shows the first tier distribution being the Federal Reserve, the second tier distribution being the commercial banks, and P2P transactions, individual to individual, individual to business, or business to business in the different tiers. With the article stated as we just did, you have the peer-to-peer P2P payments, then you have the domestic retail payments, which is the consumer, then you have domestic retail payments, which is the business. You have delivery versus payment, the DVP, and you have international payments, which fall under the remittance payments, the cross-border payments, and government payments. You have the Government Benefit Administration, and for example, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, is a mandatory government program that provides eligible people with benefits cards, typically plastic electronic benefits transfer, the EBT card, to buy food at authorized grocery stores and farmers markets. EBT is an electronic system that allows a recipient to authorize and transfer the government benefits from a federal account to a retailer account to pay for products received, and that's roughly about 38 million people, or 12% of Americans, that participated in SNAP in 2019. So that gives you a good idea of what those are defining and what the target is for this new central bank digital currency. There was a lot of things that stood out, but those were the most obvious to me on what I found curious about the new US CBDC. And I'm anxious to see, more so as an investor, but including the technology, on what they choose to use. But are they going to use one singular, like Ripple's XRP, for this system? It's pretty interesting. Feel free to leave your thoughts on where this is headed. As an investor, it's very exciting either way. I'm just anxious to see what they choose and who they decide to use. Again, guys, this is not financial advice. It is for entertainment purposes only. And I'm going to leave you with a final thought. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Much love, and thank all of you for your support, and we will catch you in the next one.